Good afternoon and welcome to Speed City's coverage of the post-qualifying for the United States Grand Prix. We are live at Circuit of the Americas and we're excited to bring you all the information and action recap of qualifying. This is Jon Massengale and I'm in the booth with Jonathan Green and Bob Varsha. And Chris Medland is going to join us with his microphone out in the paddock. And Max Verstappen puts it on pole in a little bit of an unconventional way. Jonathan Green, what do you think, my friend?
Yeah, and to explain why that was unconventional, in that he was getting out of the way of Leclerc on a fast lap in the stadium section, as we call it, so turns 12, 13, 14, and 15, and he did the appropriate thing, which was to not impede Charles Leclerc, but in so doing, he missed out on a potential next lap by crossing the line after the checkered flag had come out, so he didn't get another run at it, but it didn't seem to bother him, and it didn't seem to affect anything that happened because he did still take the pole position. That was the unconventional, but there's a palpable sense of tension out there and around the whole stadium this weekend for lots of reasons, mainly that McLaren are watching their domination. They won the championship, remember, the Constructors' Championship last week in Singapore. And here, there is 6s and 7s.
Bob Varsha, this has been, ever since it looked like an inevitable championship for the team's standings as well as drivers, ever since that point, McLaren has been dropping the ball, and Max has been coming like a Jaws shark in the background.
Yeah. It's not that unusual in Formula One history for those two titles to go to different teams.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before. Ferrari won a slew of constructors' titles, missed the constructors' titles, while Michael Schumacher kept racking up drivers' titles. So it could happen. The thing I keep dwelling on is Max Verstappen, who has proven himself to be the master of qualifying. I don't care who wins what this year. It's almost like he was teasing us. He did what Jonathan said he did in terms of getting out of the way of the oncoming Charles Leclerc, and that cost him some time. And he was a little slow off the final corner as well, and it didn't matter.
Yeah,
he already had one in the bag, so.
Which is really amazing considering the track evolution all weekend long has been tremendous. But Jonathan, the sprint plays into this, the sprint race, and the points from that or the lack thereof for McLaren are a big part of this story.
Well, the swing doesn't sound much on paper at 8 points, but when the other two don't score, it really is a swing. And the gap now 55 points with still over, 150 plus points up for grabs.
Yeah, a lot of points still available. But, the way things have been going, McLaren's got to put their foot down, up the ante, as it were, whatever cliche you like.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty to be used here because it just makes it a lot more exciting for all of us fans because, you don't ever want to see especially the Drivers' Championship wrapped up early, and who knows when this could get wrapped up at this point. But yeah, let's check out with Chris because he's only a few hundred feet from us instead of a few thousand miles from us. Chris, give us your eyes and ears out in the paddock.
I could give you another sense, which is temperature. It's hot out here, even though it's late in the evening. But I am just stalking Zach Brown. I've just seen go marching down the paddock. I'm going to follow him and see where he goes. I want to talk to him today. But I've been to Ferrari.
You may not want to.
I've been to Red Bull already, and both of those did not want to talk. Laurent Mekies has got into engineering already, despite that pole position, and Fred Vasseur not keen to do too much media, despite 3rd and 5th for Ferrari. So I don't know why people don't want to speak when they've had a good day, but apparently those two teams don't.
Well, the last time a team principal didn't want to talk to you, he was headed off to court, and that was Zach Brown. So who knows what bad news awaits us with these two. But yeah. Well, Jonathan, pick up where you left off. You were talking about the sprint, the qualifying, and the way the points and McLaren and the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, you've got a situation where obviously McLaren have produced the best car on the grid this year. Nobody is in argument with that. We see it every week, and we see it in the qualifying and lap times and how they've gone about their business. It's been a two-way fight throughout the year between the two McLaren drivers. They've won the Constructors' Championship, and the story of, or the thread for the the year has been how McLaren have wanted their drivers to race. Papaya rules has now become a sort of thing of its own, in that it's now become sort of folklore because nobody knows what that actually means. Zach Brown is not actually saying anything, but bottom line is, if you ask him what it means, he says they should not come together and they should race firmly and hard. Well, they've come together in the last 2 rounds. Here at Singapore, here and in Singapore last time out. And it's just getting... And the other side of that is the improvement of both Red Bull and Mercedes and Williams to be factors in effectively
absolutely
scoring more points. In fact, the stats show that both Russell and Verstappen have scored more points than both the McLaren drivers in the last 4 races.
Well, we saw George Russell just do a dive bomb earlier in the day, and I feel like he's emboldened by his new contract, right? He's got a multi-year contract.
Well, and also by his form, the car is improving. It's better than it was at the start of the season. George, I think you're absolutely right, is driving as good as I've seen him drive, and with a confidence and air of a guy who's shaken off the Hamilton era, is very much the team leader, is confirmed as that. He's got a young guy who's going to push him, and he said that right from the get-go, and that has been the case. Antonelli is getting quicker and more mature as the days go on, and it bodes well. We believe that Mercedes are going to produce perhaps the best engine for next year, but they're going to be competing against the likes of McLaren and Alpine with that engine.
But there's no guarantees. We just don't know if that's actually going to happen. That is the
current rumor.
The rumor, that Mercedes is going to have the best engine next year, but we don't know that. Bob, we had a few incidences in Q1. Hadjar crashed and caused a red flag, probably about a 10-minute delay. And Albon had his last-minute lap deleted at turn 15 and kept him out of Q2.
Yeah, there were a lot of those heartbreaks, if you will, not as dramatic as the ones you just mentioned, but the drivers are simply having a difficult time lassoing this racetrack, if I may.
Nice one.
Nicely pronounced, not lassoing, but lassoing. I've heard it.
But they've all got the bit between their teeth.
Okay. I may be an East Coast guy, but I do have an education. And some of those guys who are going off are heavy hitters. Like Charles Leclerc did a complete 360 off the final corner at one point.
Yeah,
so
in Q3 there just a few minutes ago,
Yeah, they're trying hard, these drivers, but, the track is ready to bite you at any moment.
Yeah.
And they did today.
So I didn't interrupt everyone, but
else
I've managed to grab
Go
Zach
ahead.
Brown. And Zach, we're heading out of the track, so we'll keep it brief. Tough day at the office, does it look like so far? Did you rectify a bit of that in qualifying?
Yeah, it's not been the easiest of weekends, that's for sure, but the weekend is far from over. Lando put in a great lap time there. Max put in a stunning lap time. So hats off to him. Oscar's been struggling a little bit more this weekend with the ultimate pace, but we'll see what happens tomorrow in the race. We just need a much better start than we had today.
Yeah, how tough was that to bounce back from today?
Well, that's all right. I mean, it's not all right, but you bounce back because there's nothing you can do about it, and you just focus on tomorrow.
Any fear about Max and that pace?
He's fast. Let's see what happens.
All right, well, thanks for your time. Good luck.
The answer, yes.
Yeah.
Interesting admittance there that Piastri is struggling. You can't get it from a better source than the boss himself. Mm-hmm. And it was like all weekend long, he said.
Yeah, it's been that way actually for several weekends now. He's just, he's been off the pace. When was his last pole? When was his last podium?
Ever since he had that, we saw this cold, reckoning-like, unemotional Piastri for most of the season. But ever since he had that one little crack and got upset, it seems like since that time he hasn't been that great. I don't know if that's the exact delineation, but hey, Chris, you just talked to Zach, but we heard his words, body language and facial expressions. Did he look concerned?
Do you know what? Not overly. That was he was serious for starters. He was marching out. He had all his gear. He's got a police escort to catch, so he was kind of focused on where he's going. But I think he just knows that maybe that was a solid recovery to get that at least front row with Lando off the back of what had been a disaster earlier, really. So it's a slightly more improved note, and I think he's getting quite good now at thinking, don't get too high, don't get too low, because the pressure's only going to increase here. It's all on McLaren. It's all getting tighter. And he's got to make sure that the team handles the pressure of the situation. And they haven't been doing a great job of it at certain race weekends. And I think today was probably a good chance to say, hey, settle down after the sprint. Let's go and do a job in qualifying as well. But yeah, that final answer is to tell anyone. It was said with a smile. I think he enjoys the battle against Verstappen and Red Bull in many ways, but it's one that he'll only enjoy if they win it.
Yeah, and we got a couple things I want to talk about that happened in Q2. We had Sonoda out again in Q2. Hulkenberg, he's looked good this weekend, had a nice sprint qualifying, but P11. And both Alpine cars, P14 and P15, thought they were going to possibly do better than that. So, yeah. Anything I think of that I missed in Q2, gentlemen?
I would say that if we've been talking about struggles and success, I would like to talk about disappointment, and got a point to both Red Bull drivers, Yuki Tsunoda, and to Isaac Hadjar. They're not covering themselves in glory. Yuki's struggling again, and Isaac is dropping off and making mistakes that he wasn't making earlier in the season. Having said that, he go back to Australia where his first mistake was sliding off, but that was again another error that you just cannot make as a Formula One driver.
Yeah, but speaking of Red Bull drivers, as we saw a nice stat, an interesting stat, I should say, not nice for Yuki, but he's the lowest rated of all the Red Bull drivers. Mm-hmm. But the exact opposite of that right now, Liam Lawson, I saw him walking through the paddock, and he was just grinning and just totally relaxed. He got to drive a rally car this weekend down at Rally Ready here in Austin, and he was just riding cloud nine, it looked like to me.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while, and his confidence, you can see he is very much the Formula One complete package now. I don't mean that performance-wise. I just mean to just hang out with and watch, do his job. He has an air now of confidence, which he, to be fair, had from the go.
I was going to say.
With Alonso and everybody else. He arrived in Formula One and said, I'm here.
Yeah, the only time I saw him lose that was when he lost his seat at Red Bull.
Yeah, and understandably.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, it was very clear at that moment when he had that. You could see it like from Japan onwards. It took him a while to get it back, and I'd say it was only around the summer break that he started to feel that confidence. But Green, you'll know this better than most, but Liam loves it here in the US. This is his favorite racetrack to come and race at, not just because of the circuit, but the whole culture around it. And he absolutely adores spending as much time as he can in the States. So I think he's feeling very much at home this weekend as well. And that was solid again today without being spectacular in any way, shape or form. But making sure you're not making mistakes and still getting a decent lap time out of the car is pretty crucial at this time of the year. And he will be looking at those other two, as you've both mentioned, in Tsunoda and Hadjar, and going, well, they're doing themselves no favours right now, and he's just keeping it solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a number of weeks, but a while back, Liam Lawson spoke to a reporter and basically said, I don't need this. He had come to the conclusion that Formula One was not an end-all and be-all, and he can go race in a lot of sophisticated, fast, exciting series. And I wonder if that's not something he's convinced himself. What's going to happen is going to happen. I'm just going to go out and give it 110%. And if it doesn't work out, fine, I'll go race over there.
We all know that whatever you do, if you have that attitude and are relaxed, you could potentially do better. Yeah, you want to have a drive and a little bit of that tension to keep you, competitive. But I can see that. Chris, I hear your mic lighting up. What's happening?
I'm just walking through busy parts of the paddock, I'm afraid, guys. It's very loud everywhere you go down here. But quite a few I have noticed have already got out of town. That Zach interview he did was him walking, as I said, to a police escort. Well, that's because this race is so commercially active. There's so many sponsor events and different activations for people to deal with that team members, even though we've just had qualifying end, that little crash for Hadjar and the little delay that's created has squeezed them even more. And it's the big names, it's the drivers and the team bosses that they want appearing at certain things, especially on a Saturday night in Austin. So I'm actually surprised at how quickly we've seen some of the team bosses get out of here. So that might have been one of the reasons, actually, both Mekis and Vasseur didn't want to speak. Been looking around for Mercedes, though. No sign of Toto Wolff either, so he might have already scrambled out of here. But I thought that was, again, a solid performance. This is normally a huge weakness, isn't it, for Mercedes? A track like this, but B, this heat. And they're really finding their way of being more consistent.
Yeah. Johnny Green, you asked during the broadcast, or the qualifying broadcast, about Haas F1. They were currently in fifth. Behrman was up in fifth, and you said, is that their best ever, maybe? That would have tied for their very, very best. Grosjean back in
Australia.
2018, I saw Grosjean, but if you got, you know what, my stats don't go back that far.
I've got a feeling that they were fifth and sixth, Grosjean and Magnussen.
That sounds
Australia.
right. Yeah, but Behrman looked good today,
and it's his debut here.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, the two cars. I was in the Haas garage earlier with Jay Leno. No big deal.
Name drop.
We're walking home tonight, mate. We're not.
Would you come down from that high?
No, that's going to be a while, guys. But which one of the two Haas cars got the upgrade, or did they both end up with it throughout the final part of the weekend?
Chris, do you know that?
Sorry, I am otherwise engaged right now, trying to see if Mr. Behrman has any time to speak to us as we walk down the paddock.
We'll
and he doesn't. He's so popular. He's so popular and so important. He's currently speaking to German TV. But this shows that this sort of result has an impact globally. This isn't just the British broadcaster or the American broadcaster for the Haas team that want to speak to him. The Germans want to speak to him about what a great job he's done. So there, we've just talked him up. I've made their press officer happy that at least we talked him up. But what was the question?
Well, the question was, did both of them get the upgrade at Haas? Floor.
Yes, I do believe that both cars had the upgrade this weekend, as far as I'm aware, and I get a good nod as well from Jess, the press officer, so thank you very much, Jess, for that one. Both cars then with the upgrade.
She did confirm that.
She did indeed.
Okay, good. Well, anyway, yes, Ollie Behrman, he is such a character. Just his look, he's always just looks happy.
Yeah, he's a great personality.
Yeah.
And what did they say? He's comfortable in his skin. I saw him in the press room before the press conference, and he was joking with Crofty that he was just going to sit and ask questions. And Crofty said, "What shall I ask you then?" And he said, "Well, why am I so good looking?"
Comfortable in his skin. That's the phrase I was looking for.
I have some terrible audio that I don't think we ever managed to save from a hot lap, though, with Ollie that I did this weekend in a Ferrari road car on Thursday. And they were his first laps of this track, in reality. He'd never driven here before. He'd done it on the sim, but he'd never driven this circuit. So he did, in the end, I think 5 hot laps, and I was the fourth out of 5. And that was it for his track running before he got in for FP1. And, of course, it was just one practice session with an upgraded car. And then you're into qualifying. And he qualified well, didn't he, yesterday? Well, I should say qualified well. He raced well in the sprint until that penalty. But qualifying had gone pretty well. And then today, same again. So impressive stuff from a rookie.
Yeah, and I mean, remember how he came into Formula One with Ferrari and got points in the first race, 7th
Finished
place.
P7th, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has a demeanor that is George Russell-like in coolness, isn't it?
Yeah. Comfortable in his skin. I love it. Kimi Antonelli, let's talk about a rookie. Nice position today, P7, and a few spots behind his teammate. But he's looked better of late. Boy, he really had a crisis of confidence and everything for a while there. And even Toto Wolff had talked a little bit, negatively about his new young star even. Well, Bob, what do you think about Antonelli's momentum in today?
Well, it seems impossible for a young driver, no matter how talented, to come into a cauldron like Formula One and expect to just skate to a world championship. And we certainly saw that when Kimi got in the Mercedes at Monza last year and crashed it on the second lap. Toto responded with a hug, warm words, it's going to be okay, maybe thinking along the lines of Liam Lawson's issues coming along, making mistakes, and that starts the suspicions. But Toto was aware of that. And then you're right, after a few issues, not all of Kimi's making,
good
think
point,
about Imola and the mechanical breakdowns he had, Toto said, well, we can't have a lot of this. You got to straighten up. We need to see some progress. And that's Formula One right there. So I think he's coming along just fine. He's been very quick around here all weekend.
Yeah, and forget life lessons. I mean, in all sports, you have to nurture talent, young talent. You have to give them the confidence to over-exceed their expectations. And it doesn't matter what sport you're talking about, but Formula One, as you said, a cauldron. And for an 18-year-old to come into that cauldron with a business of 2,000 people preparing those cars, with the money involved on your shoulders, is unbelievable.
Yeah,
and I really do think we've seen instances of it with Lawson and Red Bull where it's been mismanagement, frankly.
I was thinking of Red Bull as you said that speech.
Yeah, because, and it's happened with other teams, but you really do have to look after, the young drivers if you want to get the best out of them.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, we need to get a break, but I don't want to break if you're about to grab somebody.
No, you're all good. I was actually watching Kimi Antonelli doing his print media right now as well. George Russell joining him. So the two Mercedes drivers next to each other. But I think there'll be a little while. So why don't we go ahead?
All right, well, let's get a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little Ferrari and see who else Chris can grab in the paddock. You're listening to Speed City F1. Back after these messages.
I had to turn mine up because mine was too low. I could barely hear you guys for the first half of the show, but it was on my end. So good.
Dogs and cats living together.
Don't forget, we have a couple of interviews already in the can as well with George Russell and Pat Simmons, if you need anything.
Yeah, I know. That George Russell one, both, I didn't hear Simmons, but Russell was really good. All right, let's see if anybody is actually joining us. They're probably not that quickly. So we just fired it up.
Another team.
Wait, 8? Okay. Oh, we got some folks here. Let's see the chat. There's Bill Rickers here. Todd Dauber's here. Sorry, guys. We are just now jumping on YouTube. Andy P's in the grandstands. Okay, I get it.
Still cooking.
All right.
Right now. It is warm outside, guys. You're in your lovely aircon studio. Still hot out here running around.
It's hot outside, isn't it? Okay. Chris, I've been telling you that for the last year, that every morning when we do wheel to wheel, you're in a nice comfy, and I've had to cool down my studio just to do the show. All right, Todd Dauber says, Max should have a chance at reducing the lead even more. Oh, yeah, he says.
You think?
Yep. All right, Bill Rickers, what he's got to say here. F1 timing conflicting with my soccer today. Sprint with EPL and quali and post with MLS.
English
final season kickoff. So catch up later. Okay, Bill. We'll watch for you.
Shall I do some hypothetical maths when we just said about Max having a chance? If everyone finishes where...
Hi, this is Jay Leno from JayLenosGarage.com, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Welcome back to Speed City. I was going to get Jay to record a new bumper while he was here this weekend, but I love that one. We should have, but I forgot, like so many other things. Chris Medland, I cut you off. You were talking to the YouTubers, and I cut you off.
Yeah, I thought I'd do some hypothetical maths, because that's always way more fun than real maths. But I think it was Andy P. or someone said that Max should have a really good chance of cutting the lead even more tomorrow. And I just thought,
Todd.
Well, what if... Oh, sorry, Todd. Todd with the pointer then. Well, I thought, well, what if everyone finishes where they start right now? And it really would open things up even more, because obviously Verstappen would get maximum points, 25 points. Norris would get 18 in second. But Piastri down in sixth would only get 8 points for that. So that would be a 17-point swing towards Verstappen, which would make the gap 38 points with 5 rounds to go, including 2 more sprints. Plus, Norris would have taken 10 points out of Piastri, so he'd only be 12 points behind. So he'd have 38 points covering the top 3. which was pretty much the gap between Piastri and Norris leading Zandvoort, the way that had gone. Okay, the race still needs to play out. I think that McLaren will have good race pace in the heat, but still, with where they stand right now, it is a big chance for a big point swing again.
Okay, now I don't understand. You're standing out in the heat doing not just one simple math, like multiple math equations. How in the world are you doing that, Chris? I swear he's connected via neural link. But...
Young, supple brain.
Yes.
I am also just standing still right now, though, rather than running around, because I've spotted Laurent Mekies, and he's upstairs on a balcony in the Red Bull motorhome or hospitality unit, having a discussion on a sofa with Yuki Tsunoda's manager. Now, I don't know what it's about, and this may well happen after every qualifying session. It could be niceties. It could be that they're talking about what they're doing later, but... I just spotted the two of them up there, and I thought I'd hover here. One, just to watch that, and two, to see if Mekies comes downstairs and I can potentially doorstep him. And I'm sure he'll be delighted to have him. His name's Diego. He's actually... okay. My apologies to Diego for forgetting his surname, or at least how to pronounce it. But Diego actually came in ahead of this season. It was a recent addition. And that was one of the things that the team credited for improvements in Yuki's performances and approach. They felt that he actually had some better guidance from his new manager. So Diego got a fair bit of credit for that. But right now, I imagine it's not the easiest conversation to be having after a day where he again dropped out in Q2. I guess it was SQ1 yesterday, wasn't it? Whereas Max is putting something pretty special out the bag to put it on pole.
Chris, snap a photo, tweet it out, and start a rumor. But I have a theory for you, Chris. Actually, you made me think of it, and I wrote it down during qualifying because I was impressed with how well Mercedes was doing in this heat. But tonight, if the weather forecast is right, we have a nice cool front coming in, and it's probably going to still be hot, but that'll probably be towards the end of the race. I bet you by tomorrow when the race starts at 2, it'll be considerably cooler than it was today, maybe as much as 10 degrees. So does Mercedes still have that cool weather bump, Chris, do you think?
I don't think it's a bump anymore in the sense that because we're not seeing them really struggle in the heat either anymore, it's kind of plateaued
that's a
a
good
bit.
point.
They've leveled it out on both ends. So I don't think that will hurt Mercedes. The only way it could is if they have set up for warm weather, or they found ways of protecting the tyres, stopping them overheating because it's hot, and then it's not as hot as they were expecting. But I think, as you mentioned, the forecast has been fairly settled, hasn't it? This is what we've been expecting, is that today would be the hottest day and tomorrow would be cooler for the last, 4 or 5 days. So I think the teams will have prepped for that. But it might, again, be a benefit to and Red Bull, because I think the hotter it was, the more likely you'd see McLaren with a tyre advantage. So if it does cool down slightly, that might lessen the impact of that advantage.
Okay. Jonathan Green, I said I would talk about Ferrari after the break. And
Ferrari.
It's like you guys were talking during the broadcast of the qualifying session where how you can be, barely making it through to the next session and be the hero of the following session. Well, Charles Leclerc ended up with a nice qualifying today.
Yeah, both he and George Russell in Q2 struggling a little bit to get that lap in. But Ferrari, it's been an up and down time for Ferrari this weekend. The change of positions at the start, great start from Charles Leclerc in the sprint race to get ahead of Hamilton, and then they fought each other. Hamilton coming back when Leclerc made a big mistake and lost ground, and Hamilton pounced. But it's been a funny weekend for Ferrari. And I said to Chris before the start of qualifying, could they do something in qualifying? And they almost did.
Yeah, Leclerc qualified third and Hamilton in fifth. But, Bob, I want to ask you this. It feels like not long after Lewis Hamilton said that you should be looking for another driver. He was having such a miserable season, but he's really settled in, and it feels like he's almost, if not, on par with Charles Leclerc's speed right now, or really close. Am I wrong about that?
No, I agree. There was a change in attitude. Obviously, Lewis has probably never been lower than he was after Zandvoort. But whether it was Fred Vasseur or Lewis's dad or, somebody else came up to Lewis and said, okay, forget about it. Let's go get a beer. And, these things are going to happen. And nobody's had more experience than you in Formula One, or more success, one might say. And these things come back around again. So
what's the head of Ferrari called? The big boss? John
Elkann.
Yeah, I wonder if John Elkann might have called him up and said, "Hey, man, you put $500 million on our bottom line as a company.
Don't worry about it.
Just relax on the press. We got this. We'll get you there."
Yeah.
Well, I must add, actually, John Elkann, of all people, released a statement today, which said it was on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the National Italian-American Foundation that's taking place this evening in Washington. He spoke and gave a statement that said, "I want to express our full confidence in our team principal, Fred Vasseur, and in the work he is carrying out together with all of our colleagues at Scuderia Ferrari, the mechanics, engineers, and drivers competing this weekend in Austin. I also want to reaffirm the importance of teamwork by everyone to maintain focus on the only goal that matters, always giving our very best on track." Now, it wasn't quite directed that at Lewis, I guess, but we had heard rumours linking Christian Horner to some sort of Ferrari talks or role, which I didn't give a huge amount of credence to, but there was it was enough that Elkann wanted to make a statement today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting that he would come out, the head of Ferrari.
I think that's a good thing to do.
I love it. Yeah.
Well, you heard what Lewis said in the press conference, was that he didn't entertain rumours when asked about that.
It's the second time that they've done this, that Ferrari as a team has come out and supported Vasseur, with saying, hey, he's our guy. And I didn't put – we talked about it in the car on the way out here this morning. I didn't put any credence towards the rumor of Christian Horner coming to Ferrari myself.
To be fair, if you know you're Italian and you spend time in Italy, it's almost a national pastime to completely – it's the same in football. If the manager loses a game, he's out. Or the talk in every Italian is gesticulation, we got to get rid of him.
I think it's even higher in Ferrari's case. If they don't win every race, there's somebody complaining.
Right.
Hey, Chris, anybody nearby you can grab?
I've actually moved down now. I can give you the update from Red Bull, and that's that Laura Mekies then was joined by Alan Permain, the Racing Bulls team principal, went up there, and they both looked actually quite happy. And then they went inside for a meeting. So the chat with Yuki Tsunoda's manager is over, but also my chances of doorstepping either Mekies or Permain, I believe, are over for this show. So I've gone down to Haas to see if Ao Komatsu pops up. But I did want to actually follow up on your points about Lewis and the progress and the improvements. Today, fifth on the grid, 2 places behind Leclerc, but just a 10th off him. And that meant, realistically, just a 10th off a place on the front row. So, as we've mentioned, Leclerc is one of the best qualifiers in Formula One. Lewis Hamilton, I'm sorry to say it to any Hamilton fans out there, but is not at the start of his career anymore, and he's still producing performances that close to someone that we think is that quick over one lap. So it's very, very impressive, actually, what he's managing to do still.
Brilliant. That's you just succinctly said what I was instinctively feeling, that it just felt like Hamilton was doing much better right now. So that's great. Who haven't we given any love to? Really, we haven't given a whole lot of love to Max.
Yeah.
Max.
Pretty impressive. Lovely.
It was a lovely session for Max. The fact that
I'm so looking forward to when that all comes out.
What that means, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what it means. No, I guess
I don't.
Nobody knows.
Well, it's kind of like Carlos Sainz,
smooth operator.
It's like walk-up music in baseball.
Yeah, that's who we haven't given any love to, is Carlos Sainz, with another good, finishing.
Yep.
Qualifying P9.
I tell you what, I felt for Albon today.
I know, yeah, because that was a good lap.
Very good.
Yeah.
Just missed out.
And, of course, we got to give some love to Carlos Sainz for his podium.
Yes.
In the sprint race.
Yeah.
2 podiums now. Now that's a sprint race, not a Grand Prix, but impressive, right?
Yeah, and I think Carlos has got a click in his heels that he's in the right place at the right time. He's enjoying it. Yes, there was times when he was leaving Ferrari and he had a whole year to put up with it, and he knew that Hamilton was, coming, that he had to kind of eat humble pie and say, yeah, I'm not going to be a Ferrari driver anymore. And that must have really stung.
I was thinking about him, and I was thinking that he would be relishing the struggles that Ferrari's had, but I don't think he's that kind of guy.
No,
I think he would not be doing that.
His father's a multiple world champion. It's a bit like Jos. He's been there, done that.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, Chris? Since you probably know him better than all of us.
Yes, I generally would. I think that,
Well, there's a hint.
assuming we are still on about Max. Sorry, that was me running down to see if.
No, I was talking
appeared
about
again,
Carlos.
actually.
I was talking about Carlos
sorry,
Sainz.
Carlos.
No, I was
I
just
heard,
saying that.
Yost mentioned. No, you're,
Well,
you're
yes,
spot
that's
on.
true.
I do remember what you're on at now. I'm just
Okay.
catching up. It's been a long weekend. Yes, he
No
is.
kidding.
He's a really nice guy on both fronts, but they're so determined. They are such perfectionists. They really do work hard. And that's why you then saw Carlos really taking it badly when he wasn't getting the big results earlier this year. When Alex Albon was getting them and it wasn't happening for Carlos, then he was digging deeper, trying to find out the reasons why, trying to perform, looking into the data, and he could see that the potential was all in there, and it just wasn't coming together for multiple reasons. But when it doesn't, it gets very frustrating as a driver if you're watching your teammate do it and you know you can. You've got the proof, essentially, that you can, even if you haven't actually managed to then put the result together. So, yeah, Carlos is one of those that sometimes can take it pretty hard. He can be quite an intense character, but he is a real great team player as well, and that's where I think he's been a great addition to Williams, and he just not stopped working to make sure he was going to get those results. Actually, start the season, I was bragging about it after Baku, but start of the season, I predicted that he was going to pick up a trophy at some point this year because that Williams looks quick enough for that. Well, he's gone and picked up two, hasn't he? He's had, as you say, the podium in Baku and then another trophy today.
I tend to argue that Carlos Sainz is a great comparison with Lewis Hamilton. You're going into a team that's had a lot of success, and, you know, it's not like a light switch. You don't just slot right in and go like hell. You have to really, you know, dig in and meet your new engineers and your new colleagues and crew and designers and on and on and on.
Yeah. Guys, I want to talk about, we're running to the last bits of the show here. I want to talk about, I joked about Jay Leno, but it was really amazing to have Jay. We introduced him to his first Formula One race. I've been trying to get Jay on the show for how many years, Jonathan?
Oh, many. And we've had an endorsement from him. I don't know when you got that, but
Yeah, that was back in like 2014. But anyway, we got
He
Jay.
enjoyed it.
He enjoyed it. He came and did the FP1 session with us. We have a nice set of clips that we're going to play on tomorrow's show, the pre-race and post-race. Nice little segue because we are going to be doing both of those as usual. We're going to start at 1 o'clock Central Time, so 2 o'clock Eastern tomorrow with our pre-race show and the Grand Prix. And if you happen to be in Austin, we're going to be doing the PA, of course, if you didn't hear that. And then we have a post-race show. But Jay was funny. He was unbelievably gracious with every single. I was with him the entire day, and there was not a single. He if somebody even looked at him, he would just kind of wave to him, and they would rush over and get a selfie. He must have given out 100 selfies. In the 3 hours. So it was really great to have him. We'll have
John,
all those
you had a
clips
few
tomorrow.
in there as well.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I snuck a selfie or two with myself and Jay. But
Okay, how much longer is the bromance going to last?
probably a few more shows, Bob. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks Bob Varsha, Jonathan Green, Chris Medland, and Casey Johns back in the studio. Thanks everybody for tuning in. But tune in tomorrow. We got the big Grand Prix here in Austin. Talk to you then.